So in another video, I was holding up a mass market paperback of Anne of Green Gables. And while I was filming the video, I was not really thinking about that. But as I was editing the video, I started questioning, when is the last time that I bought and read a mass market paperback book? When I was a kid, I feel like it was half the library, and now I can't even remember when I last read one. So I want to go and look into this and see exactly what happens to the mass market paperback. And first, I'm just going to go see if I can find any. Are they still around? So first we're going to go to a Barnes & Noble, look for any mass market paperback we can find, and then we're going to go to a used bookstore and see if they are there. So come on with me, let's see if we can even find these things in a Barnes & Noble.
I honestly think we will. I just don't think it will be super easy. I think there's definitely fewer mass market paperbacks in the world of pretty books and sprayed edges. If you're looking for them, you definitely do find them. There's this romance section that still has quite a few. And I also found a section in the back with some thrillers. Overall, definitely fewer than I remember from my childhood. Here's a local used bookstore. Okay, so this is actually where we hit the mother lode. This store is filled with mass market paperbacks. Look at all these, oh my gosh.
So I'm obviously a little bit interested in the topic, so I did some research, and before we talk about where the mass market paperback is going, I kind of want to talk about where it came from. We can see here that the mass market paperback came into existence during the 1940s. I actually think it was 1939, but it started pretty slow. By 1970, though, the mass market paperback is coming close to dominating the market to where a lot of people are reading their novels in this format. In recent decades, it's definitely going down, and today it's almost non-existent. So basically, we see the mass market paperback has plummeted from being almost 50% of the market to now somewhere between 3 and 5% of the market. Crazy fall. So let's talk about how it went from going everywhere to being practically extinct. The mass market paperback was born in 1939. I checked my notes. When Pocket Books decided to start this format. They started gaining popularity for being super cheap and compact. You could take them on the go and read them anywhere. They also started becoming popular because they started popping up to be sold in stores where people didn't traditionally buy books. You saw them at newsstands, you saw them in grocery stores and drugstores, in gas stations. And also in the early years of their inception, they became really popular because soldiers took them oftentimes during World War II because they were compact and because they could be enjoyed living a life on the go where you don't get to have that many belongings. A lot of people loved them for this reason. In the 1950s and the 1960s, the mass market paperback really helped build genre fiction. You have a lot of early fantasy and sci-fi novels and other things that were considered genre fiction versus like some sort of literary fiction being printed in mass market paperback. A lot more books got the chance to be printed because of this format, because it was cheap and affordable and publishers could afford to print more authors and publish more people. So we have so much to thank the mass market paperback market for because we have so much more in genre fiction because of it. In the 1970s, the mass market paperback practically became the default method that a lot of people read their novels in. Fiction was printed en masse in the mass market paperback. I guess that's kind of obvious. Anyway, in the last few decades, the mass market paperback has really been declining, although it served a great purpose for such a long time. Let's talk a little bit about how this decline is going. For the longest time, the mass market paperback was propped up as an impulse buy. You saw them in airports, you saw them in the Walmart checkout, places like this. And one of the main distributors and printers of these mass market paperbacks, I think called ReaderLink, announced in 2024 that by the end of 2025, they were going to stop printing and distribution will be completely done by the end of the year. And part of the reason is people are not willing to pay more than a certain amount of money for a mass market paperback. And I kind of agree with that. If I'm going to spend money on a book, I kind of want the book to be sort of nice. So people don't really want to spend above that $8 to $10 range that the market paperbacks have been known for years. And at the same time, we have the cost of printing skyrocketing and going up. So it's just getting to the point where printing these is not profitable for many of the companies that have been doing it for years. They would rather print a traditional paperback that people will be willing to pay a little bit more for than go for the cheap mass market one. And we can't talk about the decline of the mass market paperback book without talking about the incline of the ebook. Ebooks are also known for being compact and for being cheap, two of the reasons that people bought the mass market paperback book for so long. You can get an ebook for cheaper many times than you can get a mass market paperback book, even though that's debatable. Some ebooks are starting to get really expensive, but it's definitely obvious that they go towards the same part of the market. So whereas ebooks are rising in popularity, you have the mass market paperback dying. I feel like I've said that so many times. Honestly, I feel like I have all these memories from reading these when I was a kid, but I was actually sort of at the tail end of it myself. I'm only 28. So my memories are somewhat limited. I think the reason that I personally read so many is because my parents had a thing when I was younger saying if you finish a book, you get another book, but then they didn't expect for me to be such an avid reader, so it started getting expensive. So I think I had quite a few of these as a kid. And to a lot of people, this is going to feel nostalgic, even a lot more nostalgic than it feels for me, because they have been around them longer, and maybe in the peak of learning how to enjoy reading, it was what was available at the moment, and then they're practically gone. It's definitely a cultural moment that feels to be coming to an end, and while I still think the reader community is going to be fine with mass market paperbacks, it is going to be sad for some people to see them decline and decline more to the point that maybe we won't even see them in a Barnes & Noble like we did today. And to be honest, I'm kind of okay with the death, so to speak, of the mass market paperback, because it's not like they're really display items of where everyone is trying to get prettier and prettier books. And while I don't necessarily fall 100% into that group, it's true that I oftentimes will prefer to just get the floppy, easy to read paperback. Mass market paperbacks are always notoriously difficult to read. You're cracking the spine, the letters are really, really small, the margins are small. It kind of makes me wonder if the target demographic that would have really enjoyed them when they were younger can even read them anymore. That's kind of like kind of mean, but it could be true. Like, they're kind of hard to read and I kind of don't miss them. And even today when I went to a used bookstore and had the opportunity to pick from hundreds and hundreds of these, first of all, it kind of makes you wonder if a lot of people are getting rid of them if they're filling up the used bookstore. But I had the choice of getting so many of them, and I didn't walk out with a mass market paperback. I walked out with a normal one. So it's just kind of sad that there's this cultural moment that has come and passed, but at the same time, I think most people are probably okay with it. But what do you think? Are you going to miss the mass market paperback as it goes further and further into decline? Are you okay with moving forward to ebooks and floppy paperbacks and hardcovers only? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's basically all I have to say. This is a short discussion. Bye.